Mr. Lee, thank you very much for this interview. It must have been quite an experience for you to create a documentary of this type by using the material that your reporter, I use that in quotation, sent you for 1 year from China. How was this experience?
Thank you for having me. It was quite a remarkable experience in the sense that Sun Yi, the person who wrote the SOS note and who helped to film most of the part in China, had to do it secretly in China. Because if the authority find out what he was doing, he may be in great danger. So he had to film them and compress the footage, encrypt it, and then upload it for me to review. Then over Skype, we would go over the plans for the next days. Only once in a while, he would then send me the hard drive, which contains all the raw footage. But sometimes it took 1 month, 2 months. The longest one took 4 months to reach me in Canada, because we cannot risk sending the footage over a courier service. So we had to pass the drive to our contacts one after another until I have them. And I should mention, very interestingly, when I first got in touch with Sun Yi, it turned out he had seen my previous work. So he trusted me. He wanted to take this opportunity to tell his full story, but he was not a filmmaker, and he did not know how to use a camera to shoot video at all. So I had to develop a little online filmmaking course for him, and then we have to work mainly over Skype to pull this off.
Even though this was a very dangerous situation, as I imagine, it must have been easy for him to trust you, because you are the creator of Human Harvest, which is another documentary about the same subject. Do you want to tell us some things about your experience by creating Human Harvest and making something like a sequel, the specific film? Yes.
Absolutely. Human Harvest was a film 8 years in the making. It investigates the allegation that the Chinese regime had been harvesting organs from prisoners of conscience, mainly Falun Gong practitioners, Uyghurs, Tibetans, and house church members in the hundreds of thousands. So this is a serious crime, and we managed to find doctors who have done surgeries, who have removed organs from prisoners, patients who had been to China for transplants, and survivors of labor camps. It is in this process I came to know many brave Chinese men and women who risked their lives to stand up to the regime and uphold their own beliefs. So Sun Yi apparently had seen my previous work, and that's why he trusted me. Both films touched on the persecution against Falun Gong, which is an ancient spiritual group exercise in China. Unfortunately, it's been persecuted for about 20 years now, until this day. So my overall experience is, number one, I was completely amazed by the wonderful stories and how brave these people are. And number two, I was also shocked by how difficult it is to get the film made and distributed, because I had distributors telling me, things like, we like your work, but honestly, my paycheck came from China. I had very large digital platforms telling me, because we are developing our business in China, we cannot take on your films. So it's been incredibly difficult, but at the same time, I think it's really worth the efforts, because whoever ended up seeing these films were really moved by the story. Their eyes and mind were opened by the film, and I think that's very encouraging.
Let me notice that if it wasn't you and a few other people, like two other Canadians, which they have given interview to Zoukla.gr, to our medium, this horrible and unbelievable story wouldn't be known to the public. And still, how is this possible? I want you to tell me your impressions for a state to treat like this people who are just practitioners of meditation, of goodness, kindness, and all that. This is still too amazing to believe.
Yes, people often ask me why Falun Gong practitioners are so severely persecuted, because it is certainly against common sense. Exactly. Why would anybody go against these peaceful people? As a matter of fact, right after Falun Gong was introduced, it was quite popular in China, and the Chinese government were very supportive of Falun Gong, right until 1999, when then President Jiang Zemin launched the crackdown. And even now, people are still confused as to why. But I think most China scholars agree on three causes on why this happened. One, because there were simply too many people practicing Falun Gong. The government of China estimated there were about 70 million to 100 million practitioners by 1999, and it outnumbered the membership of the Communist Party. The Communist Party is certainly very paranoid by any group, regardless of what they believe in. So this is probably one reason. The second one was that the core of Falun Gong is the belief of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. But the essence of the Communist Party, the entire communist regime, functions on propaganda and violence. So if a large population actually believes in truth, insisting on telling people the truth, that's not something they like. And thirdly, which is also very important, the communist regime is an atheist regime. So since it took power in 1949, they systematically destroyed all religion and beliefs in China. If you go to China now, of course, you still see many temples, you see churches. On the surface, there seems to be freedom of belief, but all these groups are very tightly controlled. Just give you one example. If you have a handful of people celebrating Christmas at home, and you happen to be Christians, this is not allowed. You can be arrested, because now they label you as a house church member. So Falun Gong has a spiritual element, and it is not controlled by the government. So because of all these reasons, although Falun Gong has no political agenda, at least the people I interviewed, I find out that they are just like people who practice yoga or Tai Chi. They do their exercise, they have a way of life, then they go to work. Yeah, so it's really no threat to anybody. But it's still persecuted in mainland China today. I have to point out that mainland China is the only jurisdiction that Falun Gong is outlawed. It is welcomed and certainly legal anywhere else in the world, including Hong Kong and Taiwan.
But still, it is persecuted in China.
Correct.
Is it true, those happy news, that the concentration camps have ceased to exist recently in China?
You mean they have...
they have abandoned this program, this horrible program on the concentration camps, all those tortures that we saw in your documentary, and all that. Do you believe that those things have stopped in China now?
Partly because of the letter Sun Yi wrote and the publicity it got. China officially abolished the re-education through labor system. Over 300 camps were closed, and more than 160,000 prisoners were freed. So that was certainly a partial victory. Unfortunately, the new forms of camps were set up. Sometimes they're called legal re-education center. Sometimes they are just black jails. And many dissidents are now sentenced to prison. So although the re-education through labor system is gone, the persecution never stopped. And recently, I'm sure many people heard about the so-called re-education camps in Xinjiang, where they kept an estimated of 2 million Muslims. They said they were job training centers, but they're not. I think the film Letter from Ma Xinjiang will give people an idea of what kind of things happen inside camps like that.
So still, if you get caught practicing Falun Gong, you can end up in prison, right?
Oh, yes. Well, you can be kicked out of school, your workplace. You can certainly be arrested, sentenced to prison, or they can kidnap you and put you into a black jail. And sometimes if you don't have much connection, or if your family don't even know where you are, your organs can be harvested and sold to foreign patients or domestic patients.
Yeah. You had the chance to meet Sun Yi before some years. Is that right? You met him.
Yeah.
I would like to hear some things about your conversation. After all those efforts, or the secret, your secret communications about the documentary, when you met, what did you say? What was your discussion?
Although when we finally met, it was our first time meeting each other, but because we had been working on this film for so long, we were like old friends. And he was such a wonderful person to be with, in the sense that he's always so optimistic. He wasn't in a very good situation when we met in Indonesia, because he was seeking refugee protection and he couldn't work. But still, he was constantly worrying about whether the weather was too hot for the crew. And Julie Keith, the woman who received the letter, also met him in person. And the night before our big meeting, Sun Yi insisted in buying flowers for her. He said she traveled so far to meet him, and he carefully researched the meaning between each flowers. So he wanted to buy flowers to show his respect. I told him, you know what, I'm not allowed to pay you to be in my film because of the journalistic principles, but at least I can pay for the flower, because we film the flower becomes a prop. But he said, no. He insisted paying by himself. So all this, time, he was constantly thinking about others and constantly being so positive and optimistic about the future. So this is the thing that impacted me the most.
He died 2 years ago in Indonesia. Do we know what happened?
We don't know for sure, because after he passed away, we really wanted an autopsy to determine the cause of death. But before an autopsy was carried out, his body was quickly cremated. So we don't have anything anything that can be used as hard evidence. But there were certainly speculations because his official cause of death was acute kidney failure, but he had no kidney problems whatsoever before. And the way he died, the circumstances was also very mysterious. So it is possible that he was poisoned.
Are you a persona non grata in China? Can you travel to China? You personally?
There was no official ban, so I suppose I can still go back. Whether I can leave again or not is a different question. So it's probably safer for me to stay outside for a while, at least for now.
And one more question. Would I exaggerate if I said that this communication of you and Sun Yi may have saved hundreds of thousands of lives? Would that be an exaggeration if I say that?
Well, Sun Yi's effort certainly saved lives. Because of the letter and the international publicity, the entire labor camp system, in the end, were abolished. And at the time, as I mentioned, over 160,000 detainees were freed. Given what's going on inside the camps, if they were not afraid, many of them would have been tortured and possibly killed. And this is not the only thing Sun Yi did. When he was in China, he was doing technical support for people who run underground presses, distributing flyers and brochures and telling people what's going on. So his efforts and with the help of Julie Keith certainly saved lives, I believe.
Yeah. And your future plans?
I'm working on more films.
You're working?
More films about human rights situations in China. I feel privileged that many people, because of my previous films, came to me with their amazing stories. At the same time, I feel the responsibility to make sure that those stories are told. And that's why I'm continuing working on several other films. One is about orphans in China. The other is about how students from a Chinese elite university helped Western reporters to interview victims of the persecution. Yet another one was about a famous case where one sister has to rescue her sister out of a hospital when she was tortured and guarded by the police. So all amazing stories. I hope we can complete them soon, and I hope more people have an opportunity to know what's going on in China.
I would like to tell you a big congratulations, because I know about all this horrible story about the Falun Dafa practitioners. A lot of people have told me about the agony of all those people, and we can be optimists that after your two documentaries, the situation is getting, as you said, slightly better for millions of people whose aim is only kindness and all the other principles of Fάλουν Ντάφα, which can make our world a better place.
Thank you so much. I mean, awareness is the key, and the film hopefully plays a part. And interviews like this, with your help, I think more people will have a chance to learn what's going on. And here's the thing, once people know what's going on, I think naturally they will take action. Whether it's a small action of just passing on the information to their friends and family, or bigger action if they are in position of power. So I think the key is to let people know what's going on.
Yes, and I think you have done a very, very good job on that with a very serious result. Thank you very much for our discussion, and I wish you all the best let's say that your film is published those days in the documentary festival in Thessaloniki. You're talking to us from Thessaloniki, and we hope to see you back to Greece sometime in the future.
Thank you.